Being in business with Peter Asher and John Dunbar to start the Indica Gallery meant that I needed somewhere to collect all the books for the bookshop before we had any premises or had put up any bookcases or anything. So I was going around to the Asher household all the time because, strangely enough, it was rather like a sort of Peter Pan house. On the ground floor, and Dr. Asher had his sort of consulting room, and then Mrs. Asher had her floor. Jane Asher was living at home then, as well as her sister Claire. And in the bedroom still had her childlike writing in Jane on a piece of card on the door and everything. And then up in on the top floor where the servants used to live was Peter Asher had an L-shaped room done out in Norwegian wood, and next to it, in this tiny little room, the maid's room, next to the lavatory, was where Paul McCartney lived, and he'd been there for years. He moved in April '63 or something, and this is already '65. So, and Paul was in there with a little single bed. Next to the window was a cabaret piano, one of those low enough so you can look over the top and wave at the audience, and, which is where, of course, he composed things like Yesterday. And then there was a huge wardrobe. Sort of one day, in fact, Peter asked me if I'd get some socks from Paul's room because he was changing for us to go out. And I opened one of the sock drawers. It was just filled with dollars, wads and wads. I mean, obviously they'd come back from an American tour, with dollars stuffed in the guitar cases, and Paul had forgotten all about it. So there's thousands of bucks there. And the only reason you would have known it was a Beatles room was the double bass in the corner. Well, not a double bass, the electric bass with Beatles stenciled on the case. So that was the wonderful Hofner, violin-shaped one. And then under the bed were piles and piles of gold records, which occasionally sort of slid out and got sort of kicked and chipped and stuff. Quite extraordinary, really, because Paul just wasn't at all materialistic. He didn't really care about stuff like that. Even when he had loads of money, he still didn't build a swimming pool. He built his own house, but it's really quite modest. So it was a weird house. Sort of everybody would gather in Mrs. Asher's sitting room, as it was called, which was a really relatively small room, and we all had to perch on the sort of arms of the chairs and things. And it would be Peter Asher would be in there with his girlfriend, and Paul and Jane and me and my then wife Sue, and various other people. Well, Peter, of course, running around, and even Mrs. Asher serving tea, and it was quite extraordinary.